Well, it looks like it is Tim Walz from the state of Minnesota to be Vice President Cackle's vice presidential running mate. Before you yawn and you shrug it off is not a big deal. And I guess arguably it's not that big a deal. Who cares? This is going to come down to a stark decision between the future of America in the hands of President Trump or the future of our country in the hands of a woke, far-left, radical progressive. But I do want to point out that you should not be fooled by any assurance that this guy is plain-spoken. Oh, he's kind of Casper Milquetoast. He's boring. He's a 60-year-old Midwestern guy. Oh, no, this guy's bad news. Ask any Minnesotan what he has done to their rights. Ask anybody who lives in Minnesota. You be prepared for this guy. Here's a little highlights reel that I saw on YouTube last night. Some of the highlights of this veteran Minnesota politician, a guy who was repeatedly elected to Congress. He's now serving his second term as Minnesota governor. Check this guy out.
I've just signed Executive Order 20-01, declaring a peacetime state of emergency for the state of Minnesota. We need to stop congregating. We're going to close the bars. We're going to close the restaurants. We're going to close the places where we gather. Several 100,000 of your neighbors were just laid off. An entire industry has been shut down in the face of this, all for the greater good.
The governor, with the power of the state constitution behind him, has issued 104 executive orders affecting everything from schools to restaurants and bars to churches to basically every facet of everyday life.
Democrats who control the House are moving in the opposite direction. Some are pushing to put a mask mandate in state law.
Hi-ho, the Dario, I wear a mask to school. It helps to keep me safe.
Explosive testimony from a Minneapolis police union official who says that the governor ordered cops to abandon that third precinct during this spring's rioting.
I was in the command post. I heard it. I heard the governor say, give it up.
At 9:32, Chief Arredondo calls the mayor to tell him they've lost control, can no longer maintain order in the city. And then at 10:13, Chief Arredondo, who's monitoring the scene from a couple blocks away, gets on the radio to announce defeat.
Get a citywide tone right now in our loss of the third precinct.
The third precinct has been compromised.
The mayor said I request the National Guard. Ooh, I'm out. This is great. We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks.
Yeah, that's Tim Walz. That was Mike Murphy, who challenged him in the governor's race, who put that highlights reel together. But just buckle up, because you're going to have two of the most radical whack jobs who have ever run for national office with Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. We'll take a lot of calls from Minnesotans today. Of course, plenty of people listening to us on AM 1280, The Answer, The Patriot, great station in the Twin Cities, where, you know, we're a little bit of an oasis in a blue state. And it's a blue state thanks to the antics of that guy. So buckle up. We'll once it gets confirmed, but that's the reporting right now that Kamala Harris has tapped. And incidentally, why did she run for Shapiro's the safe bet? That's the smart choice, because now Minnesota is very much going to lean towards Kamala Harris if this comes to fruition. But guess who gets Pennsylvania? Donald Trump. And a lot of analysts believe that all roads go through Pennsylvania for a November 5th victory. So fine, we'll give them Minnesota, we'll take Pennsylvania. I'll take Minnesota. You can have Minnesota, I'll take Pennsylvania. I like the sound of that. I love the sound of that, actually. They just handed Pennsylvania to Trump Vance, and very well may have just handed the election to Donald Trump. Not that he wasn't going to win anyway, but boy, this is great news. This is a terrific, terrific decision by Kamala Harris. Thank you, Vice President Cackles. You just handed Pennsylvania over to Trump. Sources are now claiming that Kamala was afraid that Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania would upstage her. You cannot make this crap up. I'm telling you, I'm in such a good mood today. I hope you are too. We just got a huge political victory handed to us. This is a massive, massive gift because Kamala, who's in over her head, who doesn't know what she's doing, who won't hold a press conference, who is an absolute disgrace in terms of policy, she's now being joined on the ticket by a tyrant named Tim Walz. Ask anybody, hey, let's just open up the phone lines to Minnesotans right now. 1-800-655-MIKE. If you're from Minnesota, you go ahead and call me right now and tell me what you think of Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Christian, our video guy, put up a chyron just now. If you're watching on Salem News Channel, they're burning down the house. And they are. They burned down Minnesota for 3 straight days. Remember that after George Floyd? I'll bet Minnesotans know. I'll bet people in Minneapolis remember. I'll bet people in St. Paul know. 800-655-MIKE. I want to hear just from Minnesota callers for the first 5 minutes of this hour. I want you to give us an assessment of Governor Tim Walz. You know, Kamala Harris can plant stories with a salivating, fawning news media that she was worried about being upstaged by Shapiro. She wasn't worried about being upstaged. She didn't want to deal with the anti-Semites of her party. She didn't want to infuriate the Ilhan Omars and the Rashida Tlaibs of her party. She didn't want to deal with that. They're anti-Semites. You can't put a guy named Shapiro on the ticket. What about all these pro-Hamas protesters? They would be very unhappy. They'd be very disappointed. You can't do that. Shapiro? No. We needed a guy named Walz. You want to hear Walz? Hey, Christian's got 9 seconds that sums up everything you need to know about a lunatic, far-left radical named Governor Tim Walz. Hit it.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
That's right. That's right. Hey, by the way, Christian, when you play that, block out that barcode that has a donate page for the Kamala Harris campaign. I don't want anybody to even think about having an opportunity to donate because I am unapologetically wanting a Republican victory on November the 5th. Texas just sent me a text. They should make all their campaign stops aboard one of those electric school buses that Kamala Harris loves so much. Now, I'm not even sure, according to Minnesotans who are texting me, that Trump loses Minnesota. The texter says Trump has a lot of support here. It's not a done deal. Darren's in Rochester, Minnesota. Darren, give me a Minnesotan's perspective on Tim Walz.
There's 2 Minnesotas really, Mike. There's a 7-county metro area, and then there's the rest of the state. The rest of the state cannot stand him, and I don't think it's going to help in this state.
And you know, I'm glad you called, Darren, and reminded me of something that's really important, and that is I made a mistake in saying that Minnesota's a lost cause. Minnesota's not a lost cause. Minnesota is like, in many ways, New York, California. I remember when I first got the job at WABC in New York City, and I couldn't believe how many conservatives were all around Manhattan. But Manhattan is so populous, that's why it's such a blue state. It's because of the big metropolitan areas. It's not Long Island. Long Island is conservative. Westchester, conservative. Minnesota is the same way. Because of the big populated cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, all the rest of the state is kind of left behind in the wash. So, you know, this is really, really important to remember. So thank you, Darren, for reminding me that there are truly plenty of people that represent real Minnesota nice. Oh, the Ilhan Omar tweet, that was perfect. Congratulating Kamala for picking Tim Walz and saying this is what Minnesota nice is all about. Yeah, right. She's real Minnesota nice. Kevin's in Burnsville, Minnesota. Hey, Kevin, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. How are you?
Thank you for taking my call, Mike.
You bet.
Mike, he had an $800 billion surplus and a $700 million shortfall on light rail. He did not take the $18 billion surplus to pay off the $700 million shortfall on light rail. He gave us more taxes to pay for that shortfall in light rail.
I mean, Walz and the dirty Democrats in Minnesota they wasted no time in finding out different ways to completely obliterate the surplus, did they? And then
Yes, they did.
And incidentally, somebody texted me that Minnesota is now the abortion headquarters of America.
Hey, Mike.
Yep.
Mike.
Yeah.
Hey. There's a saying, and I stole this from my brother.
Yep.
The Democrats have got what it takes to take what you've got.
There you go. I like it. Glenn's in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hey, give us a St. Paul perspective on Governor Tim Walz, Glenn.
Hey, Mike. So
Hey.
2 nights ago, I drove over to my hometown of Minneapolis. Love your show.
Thank you.
And it is a war zone. I drove around the Cedar Riverside area with Somalian community. There's drugs and drug addicts everywhere, just like downtown San Francisco and Philadelphia. Another thing is Walz is a teacher. He's very much in cahoots with the teachers union.
Yep.
They will take your children away from you. My kid just got through graduating from the Roseville school system, and it's all about, do you think you might be gay? We won't tell your parents. It's just awful what's happened in Minnesota. Someone needs to put the videos of what's going on down here on YouTube so people don't vote for this guy, because this is what's going to happen to the entire country.
Well, I just got a text message from South Carolina that says Kamala Harris's anti-Jewish feelings just lost her the election. This is a big decision because Josh Shapiro was the safe choice, was the smart choice. It would have been the right choice. Guess what? Pennsylvania, real important here. Really, I was worried. I have to admit, I was worried about Josh Shapiro as the pick. But guess what? It looks like we dodged that tough challenge. And I still think Trump will win despite whoever Kamala would have picked. But Tim Walz, this is a big, big gift. This is Christmas in August.